are watching the Blueprint Radio Show with DJ Miss Hennessy.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exclusive conversation, real talk right here on Miss Hennessy TV. I'm your host, Maxine Johns, aka Miss Hennessy, and tonight, very excited. Finally got him to say yes, to track him down, to secure a date and a time. And here we are with my homeboy, the amazing DJ Trey. How are you?
Ooh, I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Anytime,
So
man.
much.
Anytime. It's so good to see you, bro. It's been a while. I mean, we see each other, but like
We cross paths every now and then, but not the way we used to. Used to
not
be
the way
dark.
we used to.
Now there's daylight. There's children.
It used to be dark, people. There was lovely strobe lighting that created the mood, and the DJ booth, and just a crossover, seamless crossover from one to the next.
There was safety in the shot. Excuse me.
Say, hey, just that little, that high five and keep the party going. And now it's a little different, but I get to see you do your thing still at like various and amazing events around Sydney. You're like the DJ with the mostest, man. Like you've been doing a lot. What's going on?
I like to stay busy, is what I say. I just look. I never say no to things unless I can't do it. If it's something that I don't do, I was like, yeah, I will lie about everything. They're like, can you do this? Of course I can. Of course
this is being recorded. You lie. You think I'll lie about everything?
But this is the thing. I'll lie about it up front, and I will go learn. I will learn it. I will study it inside out. I will figure it out, and I'll get there, and I'll know. I'll have this whole new skill trait. And I think this is why I'm able to stay busy, because I keep picking up these new skills along the way. And then these people call and they're like, hey, you do country music, come play some country stuff for all these country people. I was like, I love country music.
You've always been like that though, even like when you and I used to DJ way back in at the golden days of Red Room.
You can say 20 years ago. That's totally fine. Yeah.
Listen, like it's like decades. I'm a firm user of the word decade, and some people always say, Max, that just sounds. It just you got to put these levels to this shit. And we've been doing this for a minute, and you've been consistently elevating your level for the longest time. Seriously, man, I remember the first gig that you and I worked on, or worked at. I think it was the Albion Hotel in Parramatta.
Okay, yeah.
Mistaken.
Yeah, wowza.
There was a teenager involved, and it wasn't me. Slightly younger, and I do believe that I think you were DJing, and then I came on and I took over, and then you and I would just kind of start talking, and you haven't changed. Still look the same. Fuck, I don't know how that was. Benjamin Button.
It's a sponsorship I have from Mount Franklin. I'd like to thank them.
Mount Franklin, I love it. You've always had this youthful situation going on, where you just like, I think, and it is about that wanting to learn all the time, and you never say no. It's like, yeah, I remember that vividly, and I remember watching you and still continuing to watch you. I've had the greatest pleasure of being able to work with you over the years as a DJ peer. And yeah, man, you just make the shit look so easy. It's not easy though.
No, it's not easy. I like that it feels like it is easy, because that's part of the performance, is that it has to look effortless. It has to feel effortless. You can't know that I'm thinking about this, but I am constantly thinking about this. Thank you. Now that means a lot, because I remember those early days, and I remember thinking I need to speak to everyone to see what they do, how they do it, how they got there, and how I could get there. And for me, I remember starting, and I remember being horrible. And I remember and no one was mean about it, but everyone was just like, you need to learn, you need to do this, and that's always stuck with me. I was like, yeah, I do. I need to keep learning. I need to keep growing. I need to keep getting better. And that hasn't gone away. And I think the only thing that's happened with me now is that I try to do that for other DJs. So they'll come and I will like, do you need anything? What can I do for you? How can I help you? Because the thing is that there's enough food for everyone to eat, but there's not really enough seats at the table. We've got enough food, but we might not have a seat. And so it's like, if you want the seat, you got to work for it. Happy to have you eat. But if you want to come and be here, it takes work, it takes effort. And, if we're talking decades and we're talking 2 of those from the get-go, like there's a lot of guys that are around that haven't found ways to change and adapt and grow, and they've just kind of let time take hold of them and put them out of the game. But
everything you're saying is right, man. It's I've never seen you as a and I know this is weird, but I guess maybe because I've worked alongside you, so I never ever felt like you were learning anything from me. I always felt we were learning from each other.
No, always learn from you, always.
Oh, thank you. No, I wasn't looking for flowers though.
But I'm being serious. When you got the folder there and it's like there's 4 in that folder, which one she gonna pick? Okay, Home Alone. Okay, now's the time.
That folder, I do remember that folder. That folder was like, you better learn.
And remember you had the mixer where you had to put your little finger in it and just spin that little dial.
we've dealt with a lot. We've dealt with some real dodgy equipment over time, and I remember you tagged me in on a photo once. It was some sort of from the vault of Red Room, and it was the mixer that we used. That I don't know how any of us used that mixer to make that party rock from the rooter to the tutor, but this thing was held together with gaffer tape, and we made it happen. And all of us, when you tagged me in on that photo, I laughed from my guts because I was like, that used to slow play me every week.
It's one of those things where you'd like, it's that walking into hell situation. Like, just how hot is it going to be today?
Jesus, please, just don't let shit bounce, or just let something just move over. Like, that's all we want,
People touching the table. Just
listen.
Who didn't invent bollards at that stage? Just push it back. Push it back.
And even the thing had wheels, remember? And if the fight broke out, we were involuntary in that fight because the whole thing was constantly. It was, these are the things that, in the highlight reel, and you giggle sometimes when, because now everything is it's just so super tech, and so, like everything is like, well, supposedly seamless. It's nice to have these conversations, to look back on what we had to deal with, and we were still part of such an incredible period of time.
It's changed so much now. I can literally walk into a club with my phone and just DJ off my phone.
And that's where I was going to with my next question, because you've been so present with all of the sort of changing tides. I'm no longer DJing at that level. I obviously now just do, like the bars and like the restaurant type of thing, just that background stuff, which is great.
That's my favorite stuff.
Oh, right. Sometimes I go at one gig that's 5 hours on your feet, but it's all good because you're there and you're just creating the soundtrack. But I look at you guys, and I look at the different things that you do. I mean, for most of I think what you do is obviously the big premiere, movie premiere events, right? Like the launch night, or you'll be at a sporting event. You've done some stuff like the TV channels when there's been shows, and more often than not, you'll find you in the foyer of Kudos Bank Arena, being the before and after DJ for a major, whether it's a comedy show, Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, or Metallica playing live, you'll be in the foyer. So explain to everybody how do you what happens with the DJ with the different types of gigs that you do? How do you prepare for all the differences?
So in the grand scope of things, like I still have nightclubs where my heart lies at. That would be like my Marble Bar on a Friday night underneath the Hilton
Of
Hotel. So
course.
that's like
Yes.
that's like I always consider that to be the backbone, because that's where I get to be me as a DJ, because I've been there since 2007.
You have been.
So since 2007, I started off, but I became a resident in 2009. So that's like every Friday there. So every Friday since 2009 to 2023, I've been the DJ there, crafting the sound that people can come to. And it's changed over time, and it gets watered down, and it gets more unique, and it finds its own place. But that's a space where I feel like I'm in charge of. I'm in charge of. You're coming here, I'm in charge of it. Now, it's different when I go to bars. And general bars, they will tell me what they want. Okay, so they'll say, okay, we want it to be like chilled and laid back, maybe pick it up a bit later. I was like, cool, I can craft that. I've got the time, I've got the hours, I've got the knowledge base for it. And so I could grow, and I can implement my sound into what they want. But when it comes to these concerts, and it's something totally different. And so I will walk into a scenario, say, not like Metallica, for example. So say like maybe like Motley Crue. Motley Crue and Alice Cooper, they had a show one time, and they were like, are you sure you're going to do this? I was like, don't worry, guys, I've got this. So I've done my research, I'm there, and I'm playing. And you tend to notice when you're in a room and you're the only person of color there, and you start to stick out like a sore thumb, but you're playing things because you've done all this research. And the way I sort of do this research is I will go look up an artist. I will go look at their singles. Okay, these are their singles. I'll look at the way these singles charted. Okay, this is charted well, this is charted poorly, but what I'm doing is I'm retaining things under 50, it's under top 50. So it's like, if it's charted above 50, maybe put it in the back. And if we need something weird, we can whip it out later. If it's above 50, but below 25, that's our chill out. We can put that in. Everyone will have a good time. And then 20 and up, that's when, okay, this is a party track, save it for later. That's like the logic that I use. And so I play with that a lot. And I'll have people come up to me like, mate, how do you know this one? Okay. and they'll say really odd things like, it's not really your flavor, is it? And I go, flavor, please, sir.
You season your chicken?
You know damn well they do not. But yeah, and for me, it's about taking the time and doing the research. And I started at the arena, Kudos Bank Arena, maybe like 2012 was my first gig there. And so the first gigs I had was Jennifer Lopez and Mariah Carey. And I was like, perfect, easy, wash your hands, done, no problems. And then it just starts to evolve, and it's like, what's that? Ricky Martin, Michael Bublé, and then it just changes, and then there's like Pink, and I was like, okay, we're stepping out now. We got to start doing this research. And back in the day, it used to just be about like finding this artist and then doing a lot of Googling, and like even like finding places and compilations that they'd be on and seeing, okay, what else are other people putting here? How are they connecting the dots? Nowadays, it's so different. Nowadays, I can go onto Spotify and I can see other playlists that people have made. And I can say, like, and there's a couple of bits and bobs of ways about it, but you can actually take a playlist on Spotify, you can transfer that playlist to be on Tidal, and then I can open my Serato and that playlist is there. And I've done nothing. I've literally just pressed like 3 buttons, and now I have this whole playlist that someone's curated that is in the sound of Pink, for example. And it's good to go.
It's crazy, man.
It's insane. Like it's easier, but it's a spoil of riches.
I was just gonna say that because we're from the school of, like you said, researching. Obviously you're a vinyl DJ at heart to start, and then obviously Serato, so that's that whole world there. But we never came up with playlists on our phones unless we typed it in the little note section and then have to go look for shit. But it as easy as it is, there is a component of it making it just too easy for anybody to just come up and be a DJ.
Well, this is something I've actually and I'm talking about in like the past 2 to 3 weeks that I've come up. I've had this thought process because I've been trying to like figure out exactly what the difference is with DJs from like that we were and the DJs that exist today. And I notice it when I go to clubs where there's younger kids playing, but they're doing old school events. And so I'll walk into one of these events and then these kids will be playing like, it'll be like 8 p.m., no one's there. And these kids have been told to play old school and they're playing like, This Is How We Do It or Return of the Mac or like just these big hits of our time that we would have used differently. And I've sort of coined this term that these kids don't understand the currency of the music. So every song has a value. And it used to be like that because we used to get the songs one by one.
Absolutely.
We only used to have one song at a time, and it had value, it had currency, and we respected it. So it's like we would save this. You'd have to build to it, build towards it, build around it because you knew you were going to get to it. And nowadays I don't think that they don't understand that because they do, because they just want to play the bangers. They just want to play the hits. Everything has to be hits and hits and hits. But I was like, that's not how a night works. Like, even if you're a mountain climber, you keep climbing, you do stop. You have to get to a certain point before you keep going. And when you're going, you get to a peak. And when you're at that peak, you need to come back down and you need to do it safely. You can't just topple. So there is a currency that these kids are lacking.
I love that. I love how you've packaged it. And it's about timing. Like, seriously. And again, they don't value the power of timing, because all of those tracks, like you said, their weight is in currency, right? In terms of how important they are to not only the playlist, but to the people that are listening, that are hearing it. Those songs hold so many memories for so many people. And if you don't time those songs properly, you've lost the power of that. So
it was also like a individuality thing. So it's a bit like, I believe, like, and this is just me outside looking in. So it's like, if I'm telling someone to go learn, they're going to Spotify, they're looking at playlists. And what the thing with the playlist you have to understand is that it's someone else's interpretation of the things that they love. And so it's going to be the greatest things that they love, not like, I like this, this is okay, I love this. It's just, this is the best ever, full stop. And that's not a great way to interpret it, because life isn't like that. A night isn't like that. Being individual is not like that. And so when they come and they all playing these exact same hits, I was like, but what are you bringing to this? Like, how are you setting yourself different? And so the way that you and I would have played back in the day is just, for example, Return of the Mac. We would look at each other and we'd be like, okay. And mind you, we all had the respect to come and listen to each other's sets to make sure that we weren't crossing over.
absolutely.
So we would look at each other and we would be like, are you going to play this? Should I play this? Could I play this? May I do this? May I do? It was very respectful. Everyone respected everyone. And the thing was that, like, you didn't want to use those tracks. You had them, but you almost saved them if you needed them.
That's it.
So it was like
ammo, like that extra.
Well, hits weren't hits for hits' sake. Hits were hits if you needed to change or do something, or you needed to back yourself up. That's what they did before.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we were in charge. You came and you listened to bloody Black Child or Coloured England or Joe Public. Like, you listened to what we told you.
Because at the end of the day, too, we were educators standing up there. It was an educational, to me, that's how I looked at being a DJ back then, like, as in like that, those early days. And of course, for me, I came straight out of radio. So my beginnings was radio. So already there, I was already in that kind of educational, hey, this is what's new, man. Give this a listen to. Have you heard this artist? Bang, bang, bang. So it was just take me out of the studio and put me in a club. And it had the same effect. Yes, you'd allow certain aspects of the crowd to kind of not help, but like maybe dictate a little bit, because obviously people are going to come up, hey, do you have this track? Most of us would go, no, don't bother me. You can't stop progress, get the fuck away. But then other times you kind of go, yeah, cool, because I always kind of used to have that first sort of opening set. And that was a massive set, because you guys like yourself and, Beast Mode and Nike, you guys were massive DJs would be coming in. So I had to set the night up. The pressure was
I appreciate you putting me on their level. I still feel like I'm here and they're theirs.
Oh, no. I wasn't dumbing myself down either, home. I was saying I actually had the hardest job of all of y'all because
You and me, we are here. They are there. All right. They do the
you,
fancy things.
that's it.
We chill.
No,
We're
we were just
atmospheric.
lay the
They're
foundation.
explosions.
But it's true. I like what you said about that because there was a lot of respect, and I mean there still is. I've obviously bowed out of the big sort of club stuff, but then that changed too. I mean, what Sydney's been through over the last few years. I think my last gig obviously was before I had my second kid, back in 2017. So I haven't really DJed major clubs since I became a mum for the second time. But then we also had the lockdown laws that screwed everything up. So
Yeah, it's been a big change.
how did you kind of ride that wave from all of that and then COVID? How's it been for you?
So, okay, if we're saying from 2014, which is lockout laws,
Yeah, lockdown.
up until that, and that only ended like 2 or 3 weeks before COVID started. Like that, I
The
feel
timing
like
could
that
have been
ended in like
worse.
January 2020, and then COVID was March 2020.
Yeah,
So it was insane. But so pre 2014, life was very different. You could do 4 or 5 gigs in a night. You wouldn't expect to go home until the sun was up. It was just standard. It was what you did. And there was much more give and take between people. People shared, people did things, people worked with each other to make everyone's nights better. Like, you need something in your club, cool, we can bring it. You need DJs there, cool, we'll take yours, you use ours, easy done, no problems. Um, but a lot of those people that used to interact with the scene and be part of a larger community, everyone suffered. Everyone suffered being able to trade at certain times or not being able to trade. There was some crazy laws with that. Like, you had to stop selling alcohol at 12, but you could resume at 3.
yeah, it was ridiculous.
So it was dumb. And it was like, you couldn't have shots after 10 p.m., but then after 12, shots were okay, or whatever the crap it was. But it was just like, we made do because we were a scene, and we helped out where we could and who we could. And if we fell off along the way, like, we were always there for support, but it kind of gave all of us an opportunity to do something different and try and be better and improve the scene. And we all kind of got on the movement about keeping Sydney open and doing this and that, but it was fruitless at the time because, there's, I don't know, like, no one's ever come out and said this, but it's very coincidental. King's Cross is now a residential zone, and all those lines and meters just stopped meters outside the casino, and then the casino was the only one that was allowed to trade.
Yeah.
Whatever, that's all mishmash now. But going from that scenario where like everything was amazing, we were always busy all the time, to like getting your hours cut purely because there was no opportunity to work anymore. But to then go into a scenario where, like, and in that framework, that's when I had started to change what I was doing. So I kind of stepped away from the nightclubs, like the massive nightclubs, and doing big festival type things, because it just, that's not where my heart is. But when that started happening, I started getting into the bars and the, not the restaurants, but just like atmospheric type things. So
Yes.
it's like, I'm setting a tone for an evening as opposed to you coming and smashing out 1 hour. It became about getting more hours under the belt as opposed to bigger money for bigger events for a shorter period of time. And it's worked for me, because then when COVID did happen, and then they turned around and said, well, you can't have nightclubs anymore. You can only be in bars. You have to sit down. You have to enjoy the atmosphere. Well, I was the guy already doing the atmosphere. And so I'm like, I'm very fortunate to have put myself in that scenario unknowingly that was going to be an okay scenario to be in. So for when COVID happened, like, I struggled like other people, but I didn't struggle as much as just specifically the nightclub DJs, nightclub only DJs. Like, there was always things happening and always opportunities to go play. And because I had this corporate backing already to go do corporate functions and things like that, that's sort of where I lent. And like, the weddings and whatever comes along, happy to do all of that too. Never say no. But it was a tough transition, just because a lot of people went away. And then you kind of realize, well, I'm still here, I'm still doing it. and you're trying to help everyone. Well, I was trying to help everyone get back in, like, come, you like, and we all took pay cuts, like ridiculous pay
Oh,
cuts. And
yeah.
it's just like, well, if we cut now, we can pick it up later and make it up. And we're sort of still working that out, getting back to where we were. But it's a part of progress. And I think Sydney's just done it. Sydney and Melbourne have probably done it much worse than most for no reason. And looking back on COVID now, it's like, it's interesting to have gone through that, because you really see who came out of it, and like things are so different now.
Oh,
So different. There's like hardly any promoters anywhere. Bars and venues do their own thing. The rates you get paid are just astronomically different everywhere. But everyone's trying, and it's the whole thing with COVID as well. So I gave a lot of leeway to everyone, like governments and people and venues. It's just like nobody knows what's going on.
yeah.
Everyone's just trying.
Yeah.
So nobody, you didn't know, nobody knew. So it's just like, well, can't blame people for trying, whether they're trying to help you out or mess you up. They're trying.
Yeah, I have to. I agree with everything you've said 1,000%, especially with now, obviously on the tail end of coming out of lockdown and everything. The rate of pay, it's like open season. That's what I found, because I obviously also went into the atmospheric bar kind of scene and was able to get residency at a couple of local venues just near where I'm at now. And when I remember when we first discussed rate of pay, the question, God love them, the guys were like, we know what your background is and where you've DJ'd. We can't afford you. Why do you want to play here? And I basically had to tell them, like, I said, look, there isn't any more that I need to do in the city clubs. And obviously with everything that it was just about to happen, I knew that I wouldn't be able to do it anymore. It just wasn't feasible for me. And I was grateful. I took it as a compliment at first, but then I went, so what does that mean you're gonna pay me though? Like you said, when you go in for that 2 hours, you were getting hella money for 2 hours, but you have to go in, punch it hard and leave, and then you go to your next one and bang, bang, bang. And then when you get the more atmospheric stuff, it's you're there for 4 hours or 5, and you're kind of setting the tone for the night. But it was a nice change, I think, and it also lends into that music knowledge bank and being able to really curate a really great night. So there's pluses and minuses for it. But I think
for me, it was always like, and it's always sort of been that way. So when COVID came about, and the challenges that came with it, my mind has always been like, I would rather have gigs consistently.
Yes.
So I want people to be able to rely on me. I want to go there, know that I'm getting these many hours, and this is how I'm shaping my weekend, and I want that to be consistent.
Yeah.
Whereas like other guys will be like, I want this much and pay me this much, and if you don't, well, I'll go there. But then they'll go and they'll treat everyone like that. So there's no chain of respect that's forming. There's no links that are getting stronger. And I was like, I would rather work with someone getting paid peanuts and grow that, and then have that respect with the two of us knowing, wow, we made this together. Look at this. This is great. Like you make, I make, we both make. There's, like I said, there's money here for everyone, but let's bring some more seats to the table if you're ready. Yeah.
1,000%. And again, I guess, with whoever's going to watch this video, upcoming DJs or, obviously people that know us and know what we've done, there'll be a couple that, hopefully heading.
You didn't record all that stuff from earlier on, did you?
I can edit that out. That's just for me. Nobody needs like that person with no, I'll take that out. I'll edit that, maybe. Depends what time of day I decide to edit. I might get in my feelings.
It's getting late.
I'd omit some names. No, joking. No, I totally get what you're saying, and I think it that is obviously, that shows the consistency, and that shows again your evolution as an in-demand DJ. I say that because wherever you go, I mean, and there's been weird things like I'll see you like at the opening of like a dope sneaker shop, and I go, what are you? Why are you? What are you doing? You're like creating entertainment, like it's nothing. Then tomorrow I'll be, I was going to go see Dave Chappelle. Oh, well, here he is. Hi. It's no longer like, of course he's there. I'm dope.
I do love it when I see people I know, because I often get put in these scenarios where like, I don't know anyone here. What am I doing here? And when I see a face, I'm like, oh, please come, baby.
Stop talking to me, please. What's been the weirdest gig you've done? Like that you can honestly share? Like, what has it been? Like, and well, like, do you get nervous? I have to ask.
Oh yeah, all the time. I feel like you need the nerves, because that's what makes you want to do better. If you don't have the nerves and you go in too cocky, you don't want that. You want to be a bit nervous. You want to be a bit unsure. You want to gauge the response of it. This is working. Okay, now
not
I'm getting
beads of sweat nervous though. Not clammy.
No, just more underarm. No, for like the very weird, like I've been in weird scenarios playing weird music, like, and when I say weird, like culturally insensitive, but like I've gone and done like weddings in the middle of nowhere where like we specifically want this Sri Lankan music from this area at this era, like that's weird and strange. But if I'm saying the very weirdest gig I've ever done ever was a year 6 formal, and I was like, yeah. And like at the time we were still on vinyl, and I said to them, I was like I play a lot of old funk and soul, like George Benson, Stevie Wonder, Earth and Fire, and they were like, it's fine, they'll love it, it's all good.
Teachers will love that.
It'll be great, don't worry about it. And I was like, okay. So I'm there, and I'm like these year 6 kids, and they're like, and it's like, I'm talking, this is some time ago, so maybe like more than 15 years ago, but these kids are coming up and they're like, oh, do you have any Bob the Builder? And I was like, no. And I was like, they're like, how about some Wiggles? I was like, you guys are in year 6, what is this crap? And I think they were just trolling me. But one of them was like, oh, you're shit, you suck. And this little kid said that to me. So I was like, I'm not shit, you're shit, you little shit. And so naturally, after about an hour or so of it, it starts to get to you. And I was younger then. And so he went and told his dad. And so his dad comes over to me, and his dad's like, oh, did you call my son a little shit? I was like, your son's been standing here for an hour swearing at me. Like, so have all these kids. I was like, oh, it doesn't give you the right to speak to my kid like that. I was like, well, I don't need to be here. And so I was like, packed up. I was like, okay, cool, that's it, I'm leaving. And the lady who booked me was like the principal. She's like, no, you don't have to leave. I was like, I need to leave. I can't. There's nothing I can do here. Like, the silence would be better than what is happening right now. And so, but say this gig started at like 5 p.m. and I'm packing up at like 7 or before 7, and it's supposed to go until 10 or 9 or something. And so the worst part was that I'm at one side of the room, the exit's on that side of the room, and everyone I'm leaving is in the middle. And this is like when I was younger, and I had vinyl, lots of vinyl, and everything was heavy, and no one really thought smart about having a trolley. So it's like 8 trips past them where you're like,
trying to look angry the whole time, like, that'll do, that'll show you.
And then the worst part was that like they were like, here, like, take the money. I was like, I don't want your money. Like, this is a mistake. I shouldn't have done this. This is my bad. As if I thought this was going to be a good idea. Yeah. Oh, surprisingly enough, they never called me back for a follow-up.
I wonder what that was. That exit survey would have looked like. Oh man,
it was somewhere out in Rockdale. It was definitely
those school gigs can be hairy, because I do the local school discos in, so like K to 6, and there was one moment, I think it was one moment where the kids were like full jumping and going off, and I had visions to early Red Room days, when we'd hit that apex. overnight, you know, when people are chanting and clothes can come off at any time. And I'm looking and I went, year sixes, worlds are connected. Like, it was the funniest moment for me. And I went, I'm a mum. My kid is actually down there. But it looked like you could have just transferred us back. And I giggled and I thought, oh, how the mighty have fallen. Now I'm playing Gangnam Style and they're going nuts. But before it would have been Lean Back, you know, maybe Annie Up, you know, something like that. It was just one of those real kind of weird sort of
I
Twilight.
think the kids still love MOP. Just
I don't know the teachers though, but I giggled and it did made me giggle. And then I don't go by my DJ, like my original DJ name now, because you can't. Where'd you get the name Miss Hennessy? Well, kids, back in the day, this is just DJ yeah, that's it.
Nice little warm cup, you know, you just put it in your hand, you get a little bit warm. Helps the throat.
And I took the name hoping I'd get sponsorship. That didn't work, but I would have a sip every now and again. So you can't. Can you imagine that conversation? I'd have that parent come up like they did to you, go, what did you just tell my kids?
Told them to have a Powerade and shut the fuck up.
That's it. Oh my God, that is hilarious. The fact that you had to do the 8 trips. Won't be saying yes to that one.
No, actually, I think given the challenge, I'd do it again now, because now, like, there's so much more at our fingertips. I have the ability now for a kid to come up and say, can you play something I've never heard of before? For sure. Here we go. Tell me what it is. There we go. Get the hell out of here.
Happy?
Here you go, little Billy. Tell your dad I said hi.
Oh, that's so petty. It's wonderful. That's dope, man. I love it. Obviously with all the music that's out at the moment, right? I mean, you're you're a connoisseur of your.
I try.
No. I would definitely say you are, because I do. I mean, anybody that follows you, obviously, on social media, you curate your own playlists from time to time. You'll, put them out there, especially during lockdown. You did a lot of that kind of, survival for people indoors.
Necessary.
At one point with DJing, on the balcony of your own home or your neighbors. I remember that footage. I went, yeah, we're all doing what we can to survive. What is your constant come back to? Obviously, you're always, with all the different various gigs that you DJ at, you're open to so much more, different sort of music culturally. But the music that is yours quintessentially, would that be the Marble Bar gig? Is that a DJ Trey? Is that your sound?
My sound is the things that I love and cherish the most. It's a two-layer thing. So obviously there's still all of like the soul that built me as a man. That's your Erykah Badu's, your Music Soul Child, D'Angelo, Maxwell. That's what shaped me, and that's the sound I always come back to. And you find that nowadays, you find the Soul Action kids doing that, and Alex Eiley and Masego, and they're doing things that sound like that. So that's the music I sort of come back to for my own personal sake, and I can incorporate that whenever I do my sets. But if I'm talking about me personally at home, the things that I listen to is like late 50s, early 60s jazz. It's just the Miles Davis, the Coltrane's, the Thayer, like just Sonny Stitt. Like that's the kind of stuff that, because for me, it's like I spend so much time listening to music and identifying a pattern in it and latching onto a pattern and then counting along with it, like clip it. Okay, cool. We're matching, we're mixing. With that kind of stuff, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't match it. You can't cling onto it. The melody's there for like 8 bars and then it's gone and then it's just and it's like I appreciate it. I appreciate it because I can't grasp it.
Yeah.
So it always feels like this unattainable beauty, and I'm just like, listen to that.
And it's one of those. I mean, jazz is transcendent, but it's one of those music genres that you can't control either. We can control all the other ones, like you said. You're counting the beats and you're meshing and you know where to cut and paste, but you can't do that with jazz. And I think that's the freedom then for you to just listen and not have to go on, right?
Not process, yeah. No processing while listening, just enjoying and feeling, as it were. So
Yeah.
yeah, for me,
So
that's it.
I love it. I love it. There's not a lot out there at the moment. I mean, I don't want to get into any kind of genre bashing sort of situation here, but I think, especially within hip hop, I mean, again, we're probably on the purists level, and it's not about, oh, I know everything about. I don't know everything about every genre, but I know what I like, I know what I don't like, and hip hop right now is been very challenging for me to connect to anything that isn't
Do you know,
an
for
older.
me, it's gotten to that point where, and real proper purists that can identify today and yesterday's music and just say, like, I can understand the lineage in this. Is like, I almost feel like what's happening today needs a new name.
Yeah,
It's because what we listen to and how we interpret music and the way it was sampled and the way the beats are structured, like what's happening today with like these younger artists and the trap sound, like that is something totally different.
totally different.
And it keeps getting marketed to us like it's for us. But it's not, because it doesn't feel like anything. I can't connect with this. I don't even understand the words. These I was like, what is
No, is he
happening?
sick? Does he have anoids or something? Tonsillitis.
I was like, the kid opened his mouth at the microphone. Yes.
Did he eat the microphone? Maybe something happened. He swallowed it.
So yeah, for me, it's just like don't get me wrong, it has a place.
Yes, it
Yeah, I
does.
appreciate its place. Its place might not be with me in my personal space, but I understand how it works out in the field for everyone. And
I like that.
I guess the biggest dissonance that I notice is that when a promoter or someone makes a request and they're like, "Hey, play hip hop," and I'm like, "All right, cool. Here's some Notorious B.I.G." And they're like, "No, play hip hop." I was like, "Here's some Kendrick Lamar," and they're like, "No, man, play some hip hop." And I'm like, what the hell is hip hop? Like, what are you talking about?
What's your
And
hip hop?
me, my hip hop is some old school Biggie, some Nas, some Illmatic, some Little Brother, Ninth Wonder, Pete Rock.
So
That's
to
my hip hop.
those people asking you, like for me, because I get that too, but I get that. Oh no, that like the Biggie and the um like that Biggie,
Tupac.
Will Smith, the Tupac. That's R&B Fridays type of vibe.
Mm,
I go, it's not R&B though. Like, and then you get
mm,
into go, okay, we're gonna have fisticuffs here, and it's a bar. I ain't got time to argue. Let's just not call it hip hop. It's just the music that you okay. That's cool. We play in there, and it's almost culturally tokenistic sometimes. At times, I feel with these sort of bar gigs where you get the younger kids, like you said, coming up and hey, can you play like Ice Cube or something? And sometimes I can't because it's a family venue and I can't be playing You Can Do It, put your back into it, and there's a
I gotta send you a clean version. You can do that. You could. I'll make you do that.
year-old that's crawling around in the mash and peas next to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I can't do California Love either right now. But we'll try later. Come back at 9. But it's their understanding of what their hip hop is very different to ours, and it's true.
Mm,
Everything has a place, but sometimes just not a place in between here. I can't.
mm. But yeah, for me, it's just like structurally, it's so different. And when I think about like a music style that's undergone such a structural change, it becomes something different. But I always think about like Latin flavors. So you have like a flamenco player and they do this, they do that, they do that. Well, no, you're playing salsa now. So that's something separate. And it's like, but they make that distinction. And the thing is, artists hate making distinctions, as far as I'm aware from what I've read. They don't like to be labeled, they don't like to be placed in boxes.
Mm.
And I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to say, if you want me to make a certain sound, be a certain sound, and you're requesting a certain sound, then I need to label it so I can identify that for myself to cater to these needs better. So
So,
when you're asking for hip hop, but you mean trap and you mean Post Malone, who's not rapping, he's singing, but it sounds like what is a rap beat now? Well, we just gotta call
well,
that something different.
you've managed to really um, answer that in a really neat little package, and I don't think we need to dig deeper anymore because that's just where that ends. Because it
It
is.
does. Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. That's the battle we're all facing, and we just kind of have, because it's we can't dig any more deeper than we already have in our decades long careers to where we are. We just kind of be consistent.
When you say decades, but you say it as a plural, that's when it hurts.
Don't let it hurt. Wear it like a coat of armor, dog, because you still look like you were about 13.
Who's that Mount Franklin? You know.
Wear it like a shaft leather coat. Decades, okay? And that's it. Because if you didn't have that, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing now. So
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Hold your head high. And so what's coming up next? What's major coming up for you next, events wise?
Well, I've actually got a whole bunch of things. So I'll do a lot of work with JBL. They've recently taken up a sponsorship with the Powerhouse Museum. So we'll have a couple of events there that are kind of art curated over the next coming weeks or so. So we'll announce exactly what that is in the coming days, but it's it'll be interesting. And then on top of that, we've got
do the nighttime stuff.
it's at night. So they'll have like what's the word, like showcases at night, and there'll be some art, there'll be some music, and sort of just curating it together. But that's on behalf of JBL. And then obviously there's always concerts coming up. We got a lot of K-pop concerts coming through, so that'll be interesting. Another genre change. And then obviously you'll catch me every Fridays at Marble Bar. And then I just go around, I do things, just wherever.
Saying yes, season. You're like the Jim Carrey of freaking the DJ. Yes, man. Yes, indeed. But listen, that's you're seeing, and I love the point of view of you saying yes to them, because not only does it expose you to like a different sort of fan base as well, because then people will be, yo, that DJ really freaking did his thing. It's you connecting to others, and like culturally too, with different music scene. Like it's a win-win.
The more connections you make, the better you're going to get. And for me, it's always like, if someone catches you, someone will remember something, and it always leads somewhere. Like to this day, I have people like email me, and it purely from my work at Kudos, but people still email me like, oh, you were the DJ at the Bruno Mars concert, like we'd like to book you for this. I was like, that was in 2017 or something. It was insane. And I was just like, someone's come, pointed me out in a crowd going, yep, this guy, let's remember this name and get back to this point in time. And so it's like the little things you do have an effect somewhere. So it's like the more you can put yourself into the eye, and that's not to say that you should go and like listen to a promoter when they say, oh, the exposure. This is something different. Okay, it's being around, making yourself known, and making connections. All right, the only thing that they should expose is them dollars.
I was really worried where that was going to go, because knowing you like to just slip in a little thing.
This shirt's really tight. It's got this dad bod going on. So it's different now. It's different now.
Not too much. I was just going to say, exposure, we may see you on TV one day.
There's some TV stuff coming up. I got a lot of sporting things as well. So I got a lot of boxing matches. So I do a lot of in the sports realm. So I work with a company called No Limit Boxing. And I do all of their fights. So we have some massive fights with like 20,000 seats. We have smaller fights that are just 200, but they're all on broadcast. So if you're watching KO or Main Event, you catch me on there. And then
that's so dope.
There's also
the boxing stuff too. I was lucky enough to be able to do it was like a children's boxing match, or some kind of championship a few years ago, and I've always loved like their music, like when they choose their music to walk into that. I got really, and there were two guys, they're like, we really love hip hop. And I went, oh, you're leaving me to curate your destiny, walk in. Are you sure about that? And I went hard because they were boxing. One guy had DMX, and another one had, I don't know, Tupac, and then somebody else had Exhibit. I went in. I had so much fun. And then they were like, cut it now. And I went, let it linger, because they need to feel that. And they're like,
you were a bit like Max is going to give it to you.
Honestly, I love all that suspension, like Creed, when he walks in, Nipsey Hussle stuff.
and when we do this work, we have rehearsals and we have to time it to like fireworks and light shows, and it's all like
That's dope, man.
like people don't notice or think about it, but everyone's thought about something at some point in time. So there's like where this one particular light shines, there's one guy that sits there for 8 hours programming that. And when this like firework goes off and people are like, oh, it's like, well, there's one guy that sat there for 10 hours yesterday, refilling that, checking it, making sure that it goes off when it needs to. Like there are a lot of hands at work to make these things happen for like the scale of the event that they're doing. But yeah, it's great. It's great. There's also some other TV stuff like got some AFL work with GWS Giants. So look out for that too, because that's with Harvey Norman and JBL as well. So
wow, that's dope, Trey. Just as well, they don't have a rogue DJ like myself in the mix there with that boxing.
well, you know, if you do want one,
We'll talk off air, because I'm telling you, if they want that flavor, if they want that random vibe, and they just want to hype the crowd into a frenzy, and then just slink away,
here's that fire.
and just a little longer. DJ, cut the music. Just you'll thank me later. And now,
Well, when you say that, because every time you're in these broadcast scenarios, and it's something it's taken me years to learn, but you and I, we think in like blocks of like this song goes for like 2-3 minutes, maybe that's how much we're going to get out of it. When I walked into this world and they hand me like 18-page run sheets that go by seconds, so they're like 5 seconds here, 10 seconds here, someone will come in my ear, like a director, and be like, all right, we need you to fill 14 seconds of air. I was like, 14 seconds? What the hell does that mean? And it's taken time, but now I understand.
my
And then
anxiety,
like, it's very much it's a challenge unto itself, but I like the challenge. So
of course,
yeah, bring it
my
on.
anxiety, I would immediately in my head see myself unplugging, doing this. Okay, you can fill 14 seconds on your own.
Forget your year 6 formal. I'm out of here.
I'm just gonna play this shit on loop until it's done. And this is why you do what you do. So on that note, I say thank you so much for your time tonight. And
thank you so much for having me.
anytime,
20 years in making this friendship together, and it's always lovely to come back and speak to you, because it's always nice to just remember the real ones that were there when you started, and they're still kicking it and still doing their thing in this amazing channel you got now. Thank you for adding me to the caliber of people that you've got on here. Okay, I appreciate it. I genuinely do, because it is gaps between us seeing each other, but we can always just pick up where we left off. So thank you for having me.
Because ain't nobody counting beats like we do. No one's counting them in their head, freaking out, having, what's it called? Performance anxiety before that 14 seconds has to be filled. They don't.
Yeah, I know.
But I know. So again, I appreciate you. Keep shining, man. And I can't wait till we bump into each other again. I see you doing something. Yep. And
it'll be at the club. Right?
Better pack that extra strength for time, because I know
that's club.
I guess now we're getting silly that people don't know. It's inside jokes. We got to end it right now.
Yeah, no. But thank you again. Thank you for having me.
Anytime, brother. Anytime. Best of luck. I'll speak to you again soon.
Bye. Thank you.